Hello everyone, I'm Radico from Ajayastromoneyguru, first Astro Finance digital channel, which is first global multi-business language channel. I welcome you all here on 1st April 2022. Today major news are, where does the US stash its strategic oil reserves? In an effort to combat rising energy prices, the US government is dipping back into its strategic petroleum reserve with its largest oil release in history, putting out 180 million barrels over 6 months. It would be the largest such withdrawal from its reserve since they were first set up in the wake of the 1973 oil crisis. But will it work? The release is more than triple what the US has put out from the reserve in recent months. It would move up global oil production by 1% and US oil production by 10%, said Brian Prest, an economist with Resources for the Future, a non-profit that does energy research. Not only would this be an historic amount of oil being released from the reserve, but the pace at which it would be released also would be historic. In the past, the US has never drawn down more than 8,64,000 barrels per day. How many barrels of oils are in the strategic reserve? While the new release will make a dent in global oil prices, already today they were down around 6% after Biden's announcement. The supply increase won't bring oil prices back down to 2021 levels, press said. But the US is good for it. Its strategic reserves are spread over 4 sites in the southern US, on the Gulf Coast, where tanker can easily make deposits and withdrawals. In total, the maximum capacity of the reserves run to 714 million barrels, according to the US Department of Energy. The capacity doesn't always run full, though. As of March 22, the reserves held 568 million barrels of oil. These stocks are useful in times of deep emergency. The US released reserve oil during the first Gulf War when oil supplies out of Iraq and Kuwait were disrupted, and also after Hurricane Katrina. But the government periodically loaned reserve oil to private companies or elevates dire market fluctuations. In fact, the US has already drawn on the reserves twice in the last half year, once to the tune of 15 million barrels in November and again for 30 million barrels in early March. How does the US store its reserve oil? The US doesn't actually use wooden barrels for storage, of course. In these sites, the oil is stored in large underground salt caverns. One cavern's silhouette resembles a giant flying saucer. Another is big enough to accommodate Chicago's Willis Tower. These are created by injecting fresh water into subterranean rock salt formations, dissolving and washing away the salt until the caverns are hollowed out. To create enough space to store a barrel's worth of oil requires 7 barrels worth of fresh water. Once the chambers are filled with oil, workers cannot access them, so everything has to be done remotely. When engineers want to extract deposited reserves, they pump more water down into the caverns, displacing the necessary quantity of oil that can be piped to the surface. In total, the facilities cost around $5 billion to build, and the average price at which a barrel of this oil was purchased is around $29, which means that when global supplies shrink and prices surges, as they are doing now, the US can turn a profit on the oil it sells out of its reserve, even as it soothes anxieties about an oil shock. The reserve locations can extract 4.4 million barrels a day. Once the president decides to use these reserves, it requires 13 days to pull out the oil and bring it to the market. How much oil does the US use? A million barrels of reserve oil a day won't fix everything. The US imported around 8.5 million barrels daily in 2021, according to the Energy Information Administration, and its total use of oil per day imported as well as domestic runs to around 20 million barrels. And not every country has a similar reserve. Japan and China do, for instance, but the UK does not. Global worries about oil and the Russia-Ukraine war will keep pushing prices upwards. But drawing on US reserve can at least address the domestic demand for oil. In December 2021, the US imported around 12.5 million barrels oil from Russia, the highest monthly imports from Russia last year. In May, ran to 26 million barrels. A million barrels a day or 30 million barrels a month offers a comparable volume of oil into the market, an ad hoc solution while the world awaits for the war to end. So that's all for today's news. Requesting our viewers to kindly like and subscribe our channel. If you haven't subscribed it yet, don't forget to press the bell icon so you can get the timely updates from us. You can also contact us on the following number for the advanced predictions that you will be needing on the special reports. You can also watch our other videos on this channel like stock market, bullion, gold, agro gene, non-agro commodity, etc. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.